Hey, I want to welcome everyone to the first Old Guys Shoot, the OGs podcast. I'm Brian Dansby with Old Guys Shoot. It's going to be a social media platform just to kind of show the value of the senior classes, and especially senior pro, senior non-pro, show that the value they have to archery. So basically, unless this one goes horribly wrong with our guest tonight, it should not. But in case this one goes horribly wrong, we'll have a whole lot more of them. This is the first one. 2020. It's August of 2023. Outdoor season is wrapping up, so we're going to kind of start our podcast with an ASA Classic recap. And so, basically, to introduce our guests, I would like to welcome the 2023 Archery Shooters Association Senior Pro Classic Champion, Keith Ahlstrom. So how does that sound?
Sounds great.
You like hearing that
And
classic champion stuff? No. All right. So again, I mean, for the rest of your life, no one can ever take that away. You're going to be classic champion forever.
that's awesome.
That's
It's,
cool.
it's,
So,
it's awesome.
all right. So just to get us both more accustomed to talking before we get into archery and all that other stuff, just kind of let's do a who is Keith Ahlstrom? I'm guessing since your email has 66 in it, you're born in 66. You'd be what, 57?
No, that's just what Gmail gave me when I signed up for that account
You're
years
just
ago.
trying to make us feel like
I was,
I'm not so old.
I was
So how
born
old
in
are you?
69.
69.
I'm
Okay.
54.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
And tell me where you live, what you do for a living. Tell me all that.
I live in Waxhaw, North Carolina. Was raised here. Uh, Went to school here. Did a stint in the military, 10 years in the Army. Uh, Decided it was best to raise my family outside the military. So I got out, came home, and I just worked a few different sales jobs and mechanic jobs, and while I was doing that, decided to go in the tree business, start a business, and I guess it was about 9 years ago, I started doing that full time, and that's all I do now is tree work and shoot my
So
bow.
you do own the business. What is your business called?
It's called Ahlstrom's Tree Service.
All right. So yeah, I was looking. I didn't know where Waxhaw was. So I just kind of looked. I guess you're just a little south of Charlotte, kind of in the middle of the state.
Yes. Yep.
What?
Well,
Just
yeah,
again
kind
for
of
archery.
central as far as north south goes, but on the western side, we're right on the border of South Carolina.
Okay. So what kind of
So it's
terrain do
not
y'all have
considered
there? I know,
western
like,
North Carolina.
yeah, I know that like West
Um,
North Carolina has got mountains. East has got the beach. So what kind of terrain do you have that you get to practice in?
we've got, it's mostly flat. We've got some hills though. I mean, it's not mountainous by any means, but we've got some terrain. My range is as across the street from my house on my mother's property, and it's more IBO-ish than it is a ASA style setup, but it's not mountainous by any means.
Okay. All right. Speaking of local, do you have a local shop that you want to pimp out? Do you have a local club that you shoot? Is there anything like that around you?
Well, we've got what's called the Southern Archery Circuit here, and there used to be 6 clubs. I think it's just 5 clubs now, and there's shoot pretty much every weekend. Uh, Used to be really really big, not so much anymore. Don't really understand why, but we do have a lot of local shoots. We travel a lot in the state to shoot, to go to certain venues. Moore County Bow Hunters is one of them that we travel about 2.5 hours to go shoot their tournaments to get good practice. They have a pro class, and there's usually some really good shooters there. So we do that. I shoot the Baker circuit, which is a little circuit that Jason Baker put together a couple of years ago, and it's a money shoot. and it's a very good venues all around from North Carolina down to Georgia. Um, we shot up in near Tennessee this year, up in the mountains of North Carolina a couple times. So everywhere I can go to get good competition and good practice is what I do.
Yeah, because there's a pretty good number of shooters that travel from North Carolina to most of these shoots, and some pretty good competition in your area. And there, I mean, with like you said, within a couple of hours anyway. All right, one of us lost cell service. That may be something I have to edit out, but it should keep recording on your local, so we should be good.
There it
So it may be
is.
me that's gone.
Yeah, it dropped off on my end. I mean, you dropped off. I stayed green and you turned yellow again. All right, you
All right,
just
we just had a whole bunch of technical difficulty. I had a lightning strike. I was telling Keith off the air that I had a lightning strike at my house yesterday to hit a tree that I can't reach around, and took out my Wi-Fi extender, my cell phone extender, and I use hotspot at home. So I had to drive to the library real quick. You can see Harris County Library behind me. Drive to the library to steal their Wi-Fi, but. Again, the last thing we were talking about, Keith, you were talking about local competition. So I know, like I said, there's a bunch of good guys around that North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee area. Um, where you shoot. But again, I don't. As far as travel partners and all that, you travel like 99% of the time. You travel with your wife Gina, correct?
absolutely. Yep.
All right. So y'all, I know that
Yep.
I've noticed that y'all do camping and all. A lot of times y'all will camp and do the e-bike thing. So that's cool.
That's right.
Good family time.
I practice locally. Andy Calloway's close to me, and we practice together when we can. He's got ranges at his house. I've got ranges at my house,
Mm-hmm.
and I practice with Dave Tetrick a little bit, and Joel Threadgill, who is not shooting this year because of some medical issues, some shoulder issues. So, um, yeah, we got a lot of good
Yeah, that's
shooters.
pretty good crowd of shooters there.
We got a lot of good shooters and a lot of good places to go shoot.
All right. Like I've heard a couple times that you really haven't been shooting a bow a lot. So what got you into archery? I mean, were you a bow hunter? What started it? What got you wanting to? Hey, I want to go do this. As play competitive archery.
So I was a bow hunter. I've been shooting a bow pretty much since I was 13 years old. And then when I was in the service, I stationed in Colorado Springs, and I got involved in a little local archery shop there and started shooting a little bit of indoor competition stuff. I actually bought an indoor bow years ago. I guess it would have been, let's see, 88, probably midway through 1988. A Pearson Classic 300 with wood laminated recurve limbs on it. And started playing around with that a little bit. And then I got orders to go to Germany, and that pretty much stopped. Didn't have anywhere to shoot when I was in Germany. Uh, so went several years and didn't shoot at all. Came back after Desert Storm, got stationed in California on the Presidio, and shot that bow a little bit out there, but still wasn't serious about it, just playing around. Didn't hunt out there. Didn't even have a hunting bow at the time. Left there, went back to Colorado, got back into shooting, back involved in some, and this was mainly for hunting. Actually saw my first 3D target ever in 1995 on Fort Carson. They had a little tournament, and I shot my hunting bow, and I liked it. It was fun, but it wasn't a big thing out there at the time. Uh, Fast forward a couple of years, I got out of the service, came home, I reconnected with an old friend of mine named Jim Skipper who had an archery shop and in his backyard. And he was successful at it. He did it as a second job, and he was very well known in the area. Started helping him just to kind of have something to do in the evenings because I've always had the interest in archery. Uh, helped him for a little bit and ended up actually running his shop. During that time, got involved through a friend some local 3D stuff that I didn't even know existed. You know, started shooting my hunting bow, piddling around, going to some local shoots, and one of my friends, Josh Freeman, uh, talked me into going to an ASA competition. First, he talked me into shooting an open setup, shooting an open class. And I did locally for about a year. And then I went to my first ASA competition when I was 43 years old. And that was the last year they had to shoot in Augusta on Fort Gordon. Okay. That was my very first one. I went to one that year. And I was hooked. Went to a couple the next year, had some family issues, aka divorce, and that kind of put a damper on it. When things kind of settled after that, I started getting serious about shooting some competition and shot all the ASAs in Open C, Open B, one out of Open C, one out of Open B, one out of Open A. Went to semi-pro when I was 49 years old. Shot 1 year in semi-pro to get myself prepared to shoot in the senior pro class, and won some money. Had a little success in semi-pro, but did not win out. And then when I was 49 in like 9 months, I joined the senior pro class. That was 4 years ago, and that's where I've been ever since.
Yeah, I'm trying to mute on and off mute, listening to you there, but because I got a bunch of vehicles riding by now that I'm up here. So yeah, that's cool. So you did. I was going to ask if you stair stepped your way up or just kind of jump right into the pro. So that's cool. So, but let's go over your year. I mean, this obviously had to be the best year you've ever had. I would guess. Is that correct?
I missed that, Brian. What'd you say?
Going over your year, would you think? Would you feel like this was the best year that you've had as a pro shooter this year?
I've had an awesome year. Uh,
Yeah,
Without a doubt, the best year
yeah.
I've
Because
ever had.
basically, just looking at yeah, that's what I was guessing. Because looking, I mean, you made the shoot down in uh, Foley, at Fort Benning, at Kentucky, and at the Classic. So you made 4 of 6 shoot downs. So that's pretty awesome. Um, very consistent with your scores. Even one of the ones where you missed the shoot down, you were very consistent. So what do you contribute it to? Are you just slowly getting better? Were you able to practice more? What do you contribute the better year to this year?
Experience, I think. I do practice as much as I can. I didn't practice any more this year than I did last year. Uh, I own and operate a business, and some days it's difficult. I work from daylight to dark pretty much. Um, but yeah, this year the mental game I guess changed a little bit. To be honest with you, the change to elite 2 years ago was good, but this new bow, the verdict that came out this year, was a game changer for me. It's without a doubt the best shooting bow, the most forgiving bow I've ever shot. And I give that bow a lot of the credit, to be honest with you.
All right. Basically, again, just reading the scores to show how consistent you were. You came in. You came into the shoot down in fourth in Foley. Well, that may not be correct, but anyway, you shot a 400 in Foley. You shot a 403 at Fort Benning. Shot a 388 and did not make the shoot down in Louisiana. Then shoot a 401 in Kentucky. Then shoot a 399 and missed the shoot down in Metropolis. And then the really good second day for a 409 at the Classics. I mean, that's just right there within a few points of 400 all year. So that's pretty consistent.
Yeah, it's been pretty good for me.
What?
My scores, we've got a delay here. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, so
It's
I
okay.
was just going to say. I mean, I couldn't tell if you were answering because of the delay. So that's what I was going to ask. Was the next question is, I, I guess I don't know. For me, it'd probably be. I don't know. It'd be a tough question now to think about it. But you won the classic. You came in third shooter of the year. So what do you think in 5 years you'll look back and be the most proud of? The fact of how consistent you were, or the fact that you went ahead and won the classic?
Oh, the classic by far is going to be my greatest achievement since I started doing this. That's something that you never can take away, and that win's always there. It's a big deal. A lot of people consider it a world championship. ASA doesn't call it that, but uh, it's a big deal. Speaking to one of my good friends who's in the senior pro class last week, we were talking about it. I'm not going to call his name, but he's never won the classic, and that was a little bit of a shock to me. I thought he had, and it kind of made me feel bad that I even brought it up because I didn't know that he had never won one. But it's a big deal, uh, and it just it was my time. It was my year. Uh, like I said, my mental game changed a little bit this year. I got more confident with my judging and more confident in my shooting. I had some great equipment, and I've learned in the last 3 years shooting in this class. I've learned a lot from the guys. Um, I knew I could shoot with them, but I never could put it together. I could put one day together and not so good the next day, or vice versa. And then I can make the shoot down. I made one shoot down a year my first 3 years, and I think I hit a total of two bonus rings in all of those shoot downs. I just couldn't hit bonus rings under pressure. And this year was just different. I had a little bit of confidence that I didn't have before, and it just worked out for me.
All right. Well, let's get to the classic. I mean, for people, for the people that don't really understand, those were not easy courses. We shot the first day in what everybody calls the dark forest, and you shot an even 200, very good score. Uphill, downhill, side hill, really, really dark. We didn't shoot until 3 in the evening. Finished at what, almost 7 o'clock Central Time, which I'm in Eastern Time, and at 8:30 it's dark here, so it was
That's right.
getting pretty dark. Saturday again, uphill, downhill, side hill lies, all that, and you shoot a 209. And that's a phenomenal weekend. What worked for you on Saturday? I mean, is that something you said y'all do have some up and down hills that you practice on? Was that kind of a similar course to what you shoot on at the house?
It's it's similar. Yes, it is similar. Uh, I don't know what got me going Saturday, or to be honest with you, it was my day. I stayed. I have a game plan. I stuck with it. I didn't change it when things went awry. I shot a five uh, in that round and still shot nine up. I only left the 10 ring two times. I shot 1.5 and 1.8, and my numbers were good. My bow was shooting well. Now, I'll tell you something about this bow that I wanted to bring up. I built this bow in December. I put a set of thread strings on it, tuned it. I've touched it one time since then to make one slight set adjustment on it for a little bit of a tear I was getting. I needed to change the strings on that bow midway through the season and would not do it because it was shooting so good I was scared to touch it. I'm surprised I held up. I shot the same loop all year long, and I mean thousands of shots through it. Uh, I just wouldn't change. I don't like change, and I stick with what works for me. That bow was working, and I didn't touch anything all year. That's a testimony. That's a testament to those strings,
Yeah, I'm sure.
and that's a testament to that bow, buddy. I'm telling you, that bow is awesome. That verdict
I
is
was, I
is
was going to say, yeah, Elite will be happy about that comment, and so will Margie and Jerry and Margie will be happy about that comment with Thread. So that's cool. Yeah, again the same thing you said earlier. You change manufacturers, and now you've got 2 years, and sometimes it takes that long to get used to the grip, the riser, things like that with a bow.
Uh, it doesn't normally take me that long to get used to a bow, and it wasn't the equipment that was holding me back. Like I said, it's you know as well as I do, this game is hard. And I tell people all the time that I have to work very hard to be mediocre at judging yardage. But it's starting to come together. The more you do it, the better you get at it, and the more experience I get on these ranges, the better I get at it. And then, it just all came together again. Like I said, it came together this year.
All right. Well, again, speaking of learning, I was going to ask you, what you've learned during all these shoot downs that you've made, if you're getting better at it. But just to kind of, I'll let you answer that question with the next question. It'd be kind of a double thing. You go into the shoot down. Uh, for some reason, I didn't write down y'all scores, but I think you were 1 point behind Jeff, if I'm not mistaken.
I was,
And
yeah.
all of a sudden, he hits 2 12s. You hit 2 10s. You don't make any mistakes, but you hit 2 10s. All of a sudden, you're behind. Joe Pitt goes stupid and hits a 14 and a 12, and he's ahead of you. So, what was your mental state at the end of 2 targets? You're going to the shortest one. That's when you shot at the 14 or hit the 4. No, that was your third target, wasn't it? You hit the 14. So, tell me your mental state when you're like, I've hit 2 10s and I'm backing up. What does that do to you?
Well, before it would have flustered me. This time, for some reason, it didn't. I was calm as I could be. My bow was aiming well. Um, things had slowed down. The first several shoot downs that I made, things moved so fast you can barely think. And I was able to listen to Mike and know what the scores were. I was watching Joe. He hit that 14 and he hit that 12. And I knew I had to shoot the 14. I didn't have a choice. So I hit it. And then I hit the coyote, the next target. And that was all it took to get right back. I went in 2 hours. I went into fourth place fast, and I stayed positive. I stuck with my game plan, and I didn't let it get to me. I trusted my numbers. Didn't make any changes to my numbers based on what was going on out there, and it worked.
Yeah, I've got a lot of noise. I keep trying to mute myself to keep that noise away. So hopefully it doesn't pick up too much. So basically, again, I know that's one thing about the senior pro class. You mentioned you learn a lot from these guys. These guys are helping you. They're pulling for you. They want to beat you, but they want to beat you when you've got your good game. So again, I mean, I know you weren't pulling against Jeff, but Jeff hits an 8 on the short one when everybody else is hitting the 14, and then you hit 14-12. So all of a sudden you go from, like you said, second to fourth to back to first in like 2 down, you're two shots, you're dropping, 2 shots, you're back in first. So again, a roller coaster ride. So it had to be kind of exciting there, and then you ended up with the 12. You had to have a 12. You had to have a 12 to beat Jeff because he would have beat you if you only hit a 10 on that last shot, right? In the sixth arrow.
Yep. He was ahead of me because he hit the 14 on the coyote.
All right, and you shoot. Okay, yeah, that's right on that sixth arrow there. Yeah, so basically, that brings up another point. So you're shooting upper. Are you aiming at the upper? Are you aiming at the bottom of it and adding, adding the yard? What are you doing to shoot at the upper? Since that seems to be your game.
Upper is my game. I shoot all uppers unless something crazy is going on that's too full. And I'll usually just shoot safe if it's full instead of shooting at the lower because it's been, I haven't shot at a lower 12 in 4 years probably. I judge the target, and based on my experience with that target, I generally pad my number a little bit and hold just under it and let the arrow rise. An arrow rises slower than it falls. So I can be off a little bit and still stay in the 10 ring, where if I were shooting lowers, I'd be under a lot of them.
All right, so on that you got to have a 12 to win, another podium, but not a win if you don't hit the 12. So I mean, Did you shoot directly at it that time? Did you keep your same
I did
strategy like
not.
you said earlier? You were going to keep your strategy. What was your strategy on that last arrow?
Uh, I don't remember how far the target was, um, but whatever it was, I added 2 yards to it, held under it, like I do every animal that I shoot, every target that I shoot. That's pretty much how I shoot it. I didn't change my plan. I didn't freak out. I knew I was either going to be first or second, and I was happy. I honestly would have been happy with either one, with being second place. It was my first podium as a pro in the ASA, um, and it was I was just calm. It didn't bother me. That sixth arrow did not bother me one bit. I shot it like I was shooting the last target of any other round.
All right. I know it's been a week. Have you had a chance to sit down and say, okay, 2024, I need to work on this. I need to work on this. This is what I plan to do this off season. What is your schedule? I mean, when do you sit down and, I guess, self critique?
Um, I do that after every tournament. I usually take a break. Right now, for example, this week I built my hunting bow, and I broadhead tuned this afternoon. So I haven't even taken my target bow out of the case yet. Uh, I'll lay off of shooting any targets or any spots or anything until after uh, I go elk hunting in September. When I get back from that, I'll build an indoor bow and I'll start working on my indoor game. And I won't touch a 3D bow probably until towards the end of November, first part of December. And I'll practice and just do exactly what I did this year. The same thing I've done the last 4 years. I shoot when I can. I judge when I can. And I just work on it.
All right. Again, you mentioned the bow that you are shooting the elite. So any other sponsors? I mean, bow, arrows. I mean, I'm sorry, arrows, sight, stabilizers, anything like that. Well, you mentioned threads as well on the string. Any other equipment sponsors you want to discuss?
I shoot True Ball Excel. Uh, I shoot True Ball Goat release for competition, and a blade for hunting. Excel sights, shrewd scopes. Um, I shoot X focus lenses, uh, Tech vanes, shrewd bars, gold tip arrows, and that's about it. I don't think I let Hamsky rests on all my bows. Every one of my bows got a Hamsky on it.
All right. Like I said, I apologize. A meeting let out next door. I'm having to sit in public, so I can't say anything. But a meeting let out next door, and they're all sitting in the parking lot with their cars running and talking. So I apologize if there's a lot of background noise. Um,
I can't hear a
so
thing. It's
again,
okay.
what state are you elk hunting? What state will you be
Montana,
elk hunting in?
Montana.
And when is that?
We'll leave in 3 weeks.
Oh
We'll go
wow!
out for two
So
weeks.
getting close. That's got to be exciting. So, um,
It is. This will be my third year
uh,
going out there. I killed last year. I killed the year before, and hopefully I'll kill again this year because we like that elk meat.
that's cool. Yeah, that'd be a blast. That's one hunt I really want to do. I go all over whitetail hunting, but I've never been elk hunting. I would love to go out and hear them bugle one time. So that would be cool.
It is fun, and we rely on the
Just
meat.
giving one more second. Oh, do you? So
I
yeah,
was
we
going. I was telling.
eat a lot of deer meat around here. So
Well, that's all we eat: deer meat, elk meat, fish. Last year we put and Gina and I do all of our own processing. We cut all of our own meat. Uh, we put up an elk, 8 deer, and about 150 pounds of striper fillets last year, and that's what we eat all year.
well, that's cool. So, all right. Well, that's basically pretty much most of the questions that I have. The only thing I did ask you about earlier, again, not trying to stir up pots or anything, but the senior class, the senior pro class in particular that you shoot, what do you feel like is the greatest value that the seniors bring to archery? Since there was some questions about whether there was, value, television value, that kind of thing. What do you think that the senior class does bring to archery in general, competitive archery in general?
Well, my take on that is so if we look at this senior class as as a whole, there's some guys in that class that are, I mean, they're the leaders. They're the people that have been doing this forever. Jeff Hopkins, Tony Tazza, Billy McCall, uh, and lots of other guys there that have been with the ASA since it started. They shot in the amateur classes. They shot in the open pro class for years and years. These guys have been pros longer than I've been shooting a bow. Longer than I've been competing. So I'm careful. I don't put myself in the same category as some of those guys because they are. I mean, they're the like the backbone of the ASA. They've been there through it all. Through the different owners and through all the different changes and the different targets and everything. They've been there forever. They are the ASA. And I have a ton of respect for them, and so do a lot of other people. And they realize that those guys, they paved the way for so many of these other people, for Levi and Dan and all those guys. These are the guys that they looked up to when they were young. So, it's a big deal. There's some of the best shooters in the world in this class, and then you've got the other side of it, guys like me that have been shooting bows for a while, but they don't have the names or the reputations that these other fellows have, and so it's kind of a two ways of thinking for me. I don't think I'm anything special, and there's a lot of guys that are kind of in the same boat that I am. They came out of semi-pro when they turned 50, and they're shooting, and they're having some success also, but they don't put themselves on the same level as Jeff and some of these other guys in the class. We have so much respect for those guys, as do so many other people in the archery world. And I think it was a little bit of a slap in the face to some of those guys. To me, honestly, it doesn't really change my mindset, or I'm not upset about it. I'm not mad about it. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't affect my paycheck. Okay. And again, I don't make my living shooting a bow. I make my living cutting trees. The shooting a bow part is the fun part for me. So I don't really have as much stock in it as some of these other guys do. I can see why some are upset. I understand it. I can also see, the ASA or Cam Media's take on why the changes were made. So I don't really have a strong opinion either way on it because it doesn't really affect me.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, my sponsor is the reason we're doing this at 9:50 at night is because I worked until about 8:30 tonight. So yeah, it's I totally agree with you. It's I understand why folks got angry, because that's, again, they're trying to give their sponsors the best value for their money they can. So yeah, the one thing about the I mean, you see if you agree with me, the senior pro classes, I went just like you, went from semi pro, and I don't shoot. I have for the last few years, because of injuries and everything, haven't shot full tournament seasons. But when I get to shoot, it's so much fun. This guy, even, I mean, you shoot with Jeff and he's quiet, and then he just hammers on you with some good jokes. All these guys are that way. That's some of the ones you think are the quietest are the ones that laugh and cut up the most when you get out there on the range. So it's just actually a really fun class.
It's a great group of guys. From the newest guy in that class to the guy that's been in there the longest. It is a great group of guys. I've never, ever felt slighted or demoralized or anything shooting with these guys. I love them all. They're fantastic guys. It is the best class I've ever shot. And I will say, and I've heard this brought up, the senior pros generally put on an awesome show in the shoot down. And it doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
I've been like, hang on, hang on. Let
Or
me get
Jeff.
my Yeah, I was going to say, let me get my public service announcement here. Yeah, I've been going back and watching all of them to bump the views on YouTube, to bump the views on Competition Archery Media. I go back and watch them as soon as I come in the door. I turn one of them on. So everybody, please do that. So anyway, but yeah, I mean, Tony Taz, Jeff's got a 13-point lead at which one was that, Fort Benning or one of them, and Tony comes back and he has to hit a 14 on the sixth arrow to beat him. I mean, that's not supposed to happen.
Nope. Nope. It's always exciting in that class. There was a couple tournaments this year that Jeff kind of ran away with it, but it was a good race for that podium position from fifth through second place, and there's always changes happening. It's not that the top five go in there and they come out the top five. It's the same order they went in. There's usually some mix up, some good shooting. They're good. These guys are good, and I am absolutely humbled and honored to be able to shoot with them. And I really still can't put into words what it was like to come out on top at the Classic shooting against these guys. A very, very humbling experience for me.
All right, a couple more questions, and we'll wrap it up with all of our confusion that we had based on because of my internet connection here. But do you shoot any of the indoor at all, or do you plan to try some this off season? I know you said you're not going to pick up your 3D bow until November, but what about shooting any indoor?
Generally, I work really hard through the winter to shoot one tournament, and that's the Lancaster Archery Classic. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. I've not had any success there, but I'm working on that.
Okay, yeah, because that's actually the one I picked out. I got a good friend that lives supposedly about 20 minutes from the, what do they call that, Snooky, whatever it is, Spooky Nook or something like that. So he's supposed to live pretty close to there. So I'm actually going to try that one this year, even though I'm not much of an indoor shooter either. But so that's cool. Yeah, that's kind of what I was asking. But again, I mean, like I said,
indoors. I was going to say indoors. For me, is like it's like being in a pressure cooker. I've made the cut as a pro 3 times up there and made elimination matches. And, last year in the first elimination match, I shot the second highest score shot in the match from all the senior pros there. But the guy I shot against shot the highest score, and he put me out. It was my best year shooting at Lancaster. Years before that, I would crumble, I fold like a wet napkin because I couldn't handle the pressure. So hopefully this year, the my mind's getting better, and I'll be able to handle some of that pressure and have a good turnout at Lancaster.
all right. Well, again, good luck. I mean, good luck in your elk hunt. Hopefully that goes well. Hopefully your deer season goes well. Congratulations again on the 2023 Classic Championship for winning. That was really fun to watch. Anything else you want to discuss before we get off? And
I think we pretty much covered it. I know everybody's ready for hunting season. I'm going to miss not seeing everybody, but the break's going to be kind of nice, and we'll start working on sticking things.
That's the favorite part of being at the shoots is definitely the people, because there's it's just fun to walk around and talk hunting, to talk bows, to talk archery. Just it's like you're meeting all these rednecks from all over the country, and they're all just like you. They all have the similar interests, same interests, and things like that. It's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun, and I'll tell you.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, like I said, I'm gonna just now that the crowd next door, the meeting's over and they've all left. Now that we're finishing up, but I'm gonna like I said, just wrap it up here. Again, great season. I hope you can top it with a shooter of the year next year. But really, really good season.
I appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.
All right, man. Well, I'm gonna try to turn this off. If you'll let it just sit there for a few minutes once we're done, just let your computer sit there for a few minutes, and I'll try to go in and edit some of the stuff that from having to change venues and all that kind of stuff. But thank you again for your
All
time,
right.
and I'll let you know when I'm posting it.
I
Thanks, man.
appreciate you. I appreciate you inviting me to do this.